Hello and welcome back to Folded Corners. I'm Francesca and I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are in the world. Just a quick reminder, this is the same podcast, as you may have already seen, Francesca Harrall's Stories for Sleep, but we're changing it back to Folded Corners. If you're new here, when I first started back last year, the podcast was called Folded Corners, and then I changed it to my own name, and I regret it, basically. So I think Folded Corners is nicer. It reflects more of the cozy, crafty, gamey vibes that we have in these sleep stories. So if you're used to seeing my name and now you see Folded Corners, that's the only thing that's changed. So thanks for your patience while I change everything over. How have you been? How is your week? It's late summer here in the UK and we're experiencing lots of fluctuations of heat and then cooler weather. So hopefully we'll be transitioning into autumn soon, which is my favourite season. I think it's the coziest season. Obviously, I know that we're all different. We're also listening all over the world. So I would love to know how it is for you right now and what your favourite season is. Honestly, I cannot wait until I get to cuddle up in a blanket and record these with a cup of tea in my hand, because that would be the dream. This week, I'm reading an original story, but it's based on an old public domain guide to bookbinding. I have recently been doing a lot more junk journaling, another cozy hobby, and someone I follow on TikTok had made a puzzle zine, a mini zine that's double-sided, and I went to print it out. I'm actually going to put a link to it in the description because it's brilliant. If you love puzzles, logic puzzles, word puzzles and things like that, you'll probably love this. I printed it out, but I printed it on 2 bits of paper by accident. So, instead of reprinting it or making 2 mini zines, I bound them together and made a little mini puzzle book, and I just love it so much. I'm going to put a link to my TikTok account in the description as well if you want to go and have a look at it, because it is, I don't know why, I just love it. It's the little size, it's the form factor. Bookbinding itself is so relaxing, even if you're a beginner, even if it's not perfect. I just use the things I had at home, and I would encourage you to try it if you haven't before. So that's what inspired this week's episode. I wanted to write something that came from my heart and what I could picture when I was binding my own book, but also I wanted to reflect real, actual lessons in bookbinding. So even though it's very basic, I've made the story into a cozy little workshop where we can all sit and we can make our own little booklet. As always, if you are struggling to sleep, you don't have to fall asleep to this. There is no pressure. Sometimes I think we struggle to sleep when we feel like we must fall asleep. And obviously I know a lot of you listen when you're not trying to sleep, when you're actually doing something relaxing. Who knows, you may be listening to this as you're doing your own bookbinding. I'm always grateful to hear your lovely comments, and I just had a lovely comment this morning from Kelly on YouTube who said that you enjoyed the solo journal RPG episode. That was a couple of episodes ago, and that you'll be listening regularly now, and I love that. Thank you so much. It really does mean the world to hear your comments, and that's why I do this, to help you relax and to give you a cozy escape. So let's get cozy now. Make sure you've had enough to drink. If you lay back or sit down in your comfy chair, make sure you're at a comfortable angle. If you need to, take your blankets off, put a blanket on, make sure you're at a comfortable temperature. And now sit back as I introduce you into the Bookbinding Workshop. This is a rainy afternoon at the Bookbinding Workshop. Tonight, we try our hand at the old craft of bookbinding. There's no pressure to be an expert or to do anything perfectly. We'll be learning from an old bookbinding manual on how to make a simple booklet using simple materials at a slow and gentle pace. After all, slow, cozy hobbies are meant to be savoured and enjoyed for what they are. We've arrived in the cosy little village workshop. It's raining outside, but it's summer, so it's not cold. Instead, you're thankful for the rain, soaking into the potted trees out front and washing away the oily film on the road that goes past the workshop building. Inside, there are a few rustic workbenches, and the room has rows of shelving units that reach floor to ceiling. They're crammed with books, papers, tools, and little unfinished projects like wooden carvings. As the clouds have shrouded the summer sun, lamps are lit in every corner to pool warm light where it'd otherwise feel gloomy. Today, you'll be learning some basic bookbinding. It's one of those slow, methodical crafts that give you as much enjoyment doing them as getting to use whatever book you make. All it takes is some paper folding, constructing basic shapes, and a little measuring, and you'll get a beautiful handmade book you can use for whatever you like. In the Cosy workshop, you'll get to personalise your book however your heart desires. It's just you today, so you'll have full reign over the paper available. But you can choose that in a bit. There's no rush. You're excited at the prospect of getting to make something with your own 2 hands. It doesn't matter how long it takes. And it isn't a competition. Instead, it's a chance to spend some time creating, without judgment, away from every demand in your daily life. You know that taking this time for yourself in a cosy space is the relaxation your brain needed. And with that thought in mind, you cast your eye to a small workbench with a padded stool right next to the window. On the worktop, there's a well-loved box crammed with all the supplies you'll need today. You take a seat, already feeling at home. It seems there's a printed inventory, so you can tell what all of the items are that are stashed inside the box. On top, there's a ruler, a pair of 6-inch scissors, a medium pencil, a tapestry needle, a wooden triangle, and a bone folder. There's a paper cutter, some eyelet punches, and a paste brush, although you may not need all of this today. You look further down into the box to find more materials. There's newsboard, which is really a kind of cardboard. Vellum deluxe, which is a kind of tinted cloth made of cotton. There's cover paper of all different patterns and colours, including some wallpaper. There's marbled paper, craft paper, drawing paper, red rope manila. Then there's page paper in white, ivory and grey. There's drawing paper, newspaper, and then some linen thread, some silk, some raffia, and eyelets. You also see some macrame cord, some white and coloured tape, some bookbinder's twine, and some gummed tissue. You won't need most of this today, but this box is now yours to keep, so you have everything you need for future projects too. To begin crafting your booklet, you'll need a few bits and pieces out of here. The thick ivory paper looks beautiful for writing and doodling. which is mostly what you plan on using your book for. So you select 7 sheets that will end up becoming your signature. Next, you leaf through the patterned and coloured cover papers. You toy with the idea of selecting a solid colour like the emerald green, the inky blue or dusty rose sheets you spotted. That way you can decorate it with washi tapes, stickers or doodles at a later time perhaps. That is until you spot some beautifully embossed charcoal grey paper. It has little herbs and cat silhouettes embossed into it, and you know instantly this is your cover. Now, depending on what you're going to use your booklet for will change the size you make. For lists of ingredients, books you want to read or recipes, making your pages long and thin works well. If you wanted to make a sketch pad, something bigger and squarer might suit you. And a journal or a tarot guidebook? A generous rectangular page would give you plenty of room to write everything down. You sit and have a think for a while, gazing out of the raindrop-spattered pane onto the footpath area to the back of the workshop. Overgrown wild bushes and herbs hang heavy with the downpour. And it springs to mind that you've been after a little field notes style book to doodle and document the herbs and berries you've started to forage. Perfect. Even the pretty herb cover fits, so you settle on a narrow, longer booklet that you've already mentally found a home for in your book bag. The first thing to do is to measure out the size of your inner pages, which you'll gently fold and crease with your bone folder to create the folios. You find the vintage wooden ruler and a pencil. It's a classic yellow and black HB pencil, freshly sharpened, and mark out the same measurement on the top and the bottom of the paper. Then move to line your ruler up vertically with the marks you just made, gently guiding the tip of the pencil along it to get a perfect, precise line. This is where you'll cut so that when you fold these crisp ivory sheets in half, they're perfectly narrow. You smile to yourself as it starts to take shape. Simple, quiet steps to make something you'll use every day. Next, before you start cutting, you'll need to create your cover. Ideally, this will be a little wider and a little taller than your writing pages. Not by a lot, by about 1/2 centimetre, so it protects them. You line up your ruler again to the writing pages and jot down their dimensions. You keep this in mind while measuring up your cover page and add a little extra to the height and width. When you're satisfied, you slide all of the pages, one by one, into your paper cutter, checking the lines all match up, and then slowly and methodically slide the little blade firmly over each individual sheaf. Just the shh, shh of the paper, lulling you into a content state in your repetitive work. When the sheets are ready, you move on to prepare them for sewing. This bit is also very simple and therapeutic, and ties all of your hard work together. Back to your box, you rummage for a silky spool of green thread and a matching needle. It's okay that you're eyeballing the length of thread. About the length of your forearm will do, because you don't need much. So you can turn your beautiful pieces of paper into a book. You'll want to fold them first. You do this again slowly to individual pages to make sure they're crisp and neat. Taking your bone folder, you press the folded edge of each and slide it up the length of the pages, one after the other. It's funny, isn't it, that making your booklet is so straightforward, yet most of the time we just buy a notebook right off the shelf without considering how it's made. Because you've slowed down and created one for your exact needs, from basic materials, you'll pause for a moment and think back to this cozy, comforting ritual every time you go to jot a note or a doodle. You deliberately stack each of your pages now, one inside the other, with your cover on the outside, your pages arranged neatly and ready to join. You thread your needle first time, wrapping the end around the needle a few times and sliding the knot down with your finger and thumb to create a little quilter's knot. Time to punch your holes before you connect your pages. Better look for something to use as a backing so the needle can punch a neat hole. A piece of felt would do, so you lay your materials back down and get up from your comfy stool to have a little wander in search of something. You amble to the shelves over the opposite side. This one looks crammed with all manner of craft supplies like yarn cakes, looms and Tunisian crochet hooks. In a basket you find some random fabric offcuts, too thin. A needle felting pad could work. There's a handmade one from Hessian and what feels and sounds like rice or buckwheat stuffing. It makes a nice tinkling sound similar to a rain stick as you shift its weight in your hands. It might be a bit lumpy and crease your paper. But there's a thin cutting of foam board. Perfect. You take it back to your workbench, awash with a triumphant feeling that you're giving something destined for the bin a new purpose. Getting comfy on your stool again, you find up the measurements you jotted down for the pages earlier and find the middle of your signature. Then confidently push the needle through all 7 pages and your cover, the foam resting underneath. You do the same for a hole near the top and the bottom, then begin connecting the paper and finally bringing together your booklet. You carefully pass your needle through the middle, inside to outside, then through the top, outside to inside, and repeating the ritual again to secure it at the bottom, until the thread ends up back where it started, so you can fasten it and tie it off. Giving it a clean snip, your booklet is now complete. Nothing quite like the feeling of losing track of time, creating something, no matter how simple, that you can use every day. It's the perfect companion to your walks into the woods when you go foraging, or when you spot a new plant pop up in your garden that you don't recognize. With every cut, crease and stitch, you imbued this little notebook with a piece of you and this content slice of magic you experienced in this workshop on a gloomy summer day. The rain has abated now, a weak trickle of sunlight through the clouds competing with the warm lamplight. You'll enjoy the journey home, you think, as you place the paper scraps and tools back in the box, ready for next time. You leave through your new booklet, fresh and ready to be filled with notes and drawings. Maybe you'll make more for different hobbies. For now, you tuck it between the pages of a novel you carry in your bag to keep it safe. switch off the lamps and begin your trip home.